Hello everyone, welcome to the Buzz the Prey Manga. Today we continue the latest Global Freeze chapter, rewritten and edited by me in English for a smooth reading experience. All visuals and story flow are personally edited to give you the best manga style storytelling. Support the original creator by checking the official manga. So let's dive right into the today's chapter.
Chapter 2695 Going to Great Lengths 1. Kroba charged up behind Jang E, countless spatial fragments condensing in his palm. It was unimaginable how destructive this attack would be. He raised his hand, about to stab Jang E hard in the back of the neck. However, at that very moment his body suddenly stopped. In his perception, he had already teleported behind the other party. But what's in front of me is still the same angle as before. Jang Yi's silhouette was always kept at a distance that seemed just out of reach, like a distant photograph that had been infinitely magnified. His attack landed in empty space, leaving only a futile silhouette of fragmented space in midair. The realm of no form. Jang E spoke calmly. At this moment, the boundless realm was fully unfurled. With him at the center, the concept of distance is controlled by him within a 5-kilometer radius. He can turn a distance of 1 centimeter into 5 kilometers. This also allows the 5-kilometer distance to be reduced to 0. Beyond the realm of space, Jang Yi's abilities have completely surpassed those of Kroba. Between abilities of the same attribute, even a slight difference can make a world of difference. Kroba understands what to say. His face instantly darkened. The moment of smugness I felt just moments ago felt like being slapped across the face. You think you're the only one who knows how to use spatial abilities? Jang E tightened his grip on the sword slightly. Space-type ability users are the least suitable to show off in front of me. He swung his sword backhand. The movement appeared slow, but with the blessing of the boundless realm, this sword strike almost transcended the concept of distance. His sword can instantly reach any point within a 5-kilometer radius of the spherical space centered on him. Therefore, his sword reached Kroba in an instant. Kroba roared as he blocked all the spatial fragments in front of him. A number of fragments were sliced through by the sword's edge. At that moment, they were simultaneously assimilated into the rules of the Netherworld. Even the sharpest fragments of space are just like easily shattered glass when they come into contact with the antimatter of the Netherworld. All the spatial fragments collapsed. A layer of space shield on Kroba's suit was also cleaved open. A tiny yet incredibly deep sword mark appeared on his chest armor, almost grazing his heart. A chill ran through him. For the first time, the light in his eyes was squeezed into a distorted shape by fear. "Help me," Kroba shouted into the communication channel without the slightest hesitation. At the same time, Gushin immediately raised his arms again. They share both glory and loss. The death of any one of them would push the war in a direction unfavorable to them. He had forcibly squeezed the energy inside the driving armor to its limit. High-voltage energy pipelines exploded with blinding sparks inside the armor. Reincarnation cannon. Rapid fire mode. He roared. The cannon fired 3 times in succession. The 3 cannons, almost one after the other, formed a continuous torrent of energy that pressed down on Jang E. At this moment, the cosmic storm was once again triggered by space. This time, he didn't unleash the storm alone, but instead combined it with the reincarnation cannon. Single-target attacks were no longer able to break through Jang Yi's Taishu bathrobe. They could only try to concentrate their attacks on one point and then use overwhelming force to forcibly shatter Jang Yi's defense. The friction between the two forces with completely different attributes directly baked the space in front of them into a snow-white expanse. Gachowin's golden pupils lit up again. The gears of the Wheel of Time slowly rotated, and this time it was no longer a single attack, but a constant erosion of the timeline on the battlefield. A single glance, and eternal emptiness. Gachowin's rule-based abilities had the greatest impact on Jang E, temporarily suppressing his abilities and preventing him from freely controlling time and space. This gave the 3 of them an excellent opportunity to attack. The attacks of the 3 of them were fine-tuned to the perfect point of overlap on the timeline. At that moment, the 3-person attack was almost a seamless relay. the god of heavenly Minamoto, did not launch an attack. He simply raised his hand quietly. One after another, Luo doors sealed Jang E's body in a square pattern. The sealing power gave the entire space an invisible texture, as if the void had turned into a viscous swamp, making it difficult for Jang E to move. You guys really went to great lengths to deal with me. Jang E sneered. If it were him during the myriad races gathering 5 years ago, facing such a targeted encirclement and attack, he would have undoubtedly died. Because of the vastness and complexity of the universe, it is truly difficult to withstand such an offensive. Unfortunately, he is no longer the same as before. The Torii Gate, which had been sealed off, moved slowly, blocking his escape route as well. Stop being so arrogant. Where can you hide now? A calm from the Celestial clan let out a cold laugh. Without the defensive shield formed by the power of space, you are nothing more than a slightly more magnificent flesh and blood body. Tear your splendid yukata to shreds, and you will be weak and helpless, at the mercy of others. Jang E watched as the overwhelming torrent of energy surged towards them. The Taishu bathrobe slowly spun around him. This time, he didn't let it swallow all the attacks for him. You've been testing your combined attack technique for so long. He gently raised his sword. It's time you tasted the power of my sword. He always prefers to counterattack, first confirming that the opponent's attack poses no fatal threat to him, and then launching a counterattack. What if the opponent's attack could threaten his life? Of course we'd run. Giant black vortexes appeared one after another on Jang E's body. The Taishu bathrobe was the entrance to the Netherworld. Dark, viscous antimatter flowed out like a torrent, spreading onto Jang E's white emperor battle armor, while the power of the Netherworld simultaneously gathered on the sword. The blade of the Eternal Judgment sword turned pitch black, as if it were devouring all light. Dark patterns appeared around the sword, like symbols that did not belong to this universe. Burial in the Netherworld. He uttered those 4 words softly, then swung his long sword backhand, sweeping across all directions. At that moment, the background light of the universe dimmed for a split second. The blue light of the starry corridor also seemed to be dimmed. A bottomless darkness slowly spread from beneath his feet, like an abyss coffin that was being opened. A dark torrent swept in all directions, invading every part of the universe. The energy torrent from the reincarnation cannon surged into this dark area. The power that should have been raging and tearing everything apart seemed to crash into a completely opposite world when it touched the edge of the Netherworld projection. Its structure began to collapse. The energy was stripped away little by little. The originally raging torrent transformed into scattered fragments of energy sand, which were slowly swallowed by the dark coffin. A cosmic storm followed. The radiation and ion flow in the storm were disintegrated at the edge of the Netherworld projection. Before they could even form the sharp edges that tear matter apart, they had already turned into countless tiny energy dust particles, like light scattered into a black hole, disappearing without a trace. Chapter 2696 Going to Great Lengths 2. Jang E officially launched his attack, and the power of the Netherworld shocked even the 5 strongest individuals. We have experienced this kind of power before, and we know very well that it is enough to devour everything. However, the sharpness of Jang E's sword strike now far surpasses that of 5 years ago. The amount of time that the Wheel of Time turns is also involved. The gear-shaped blade paused slightly at the edge of the Netherworld projection. Yuan Nono's time blade, which could ignore all defenses, seemed to be blocked in the face of the rules of the Netherworld. Because the spirit body of the Netherworld is not within the normal timeline. If you try to use time to cut something that stands outside of time, then the idea of time itself is a paradox. The blockade formed by Rashomon and the sealing barrier was swallowed whole by the great burial of the Netherworld. The densely packed rope patterns struggled briefly in the projection of the Netherworld before being rewritten. They became new patterns on the surface of the coffin in the Netherworld. The combined attack that the 5 powerful warriors were once so proud of was, for the first time, countered by an absolute attribute. At this moment, they finally truly felt what the terror of ghost matter meant. The power of the Netherworld is not just another form of power. It is a negation of the quantity. No matter how strong or complex you are, once you enter that realm, you must accept the fate of being wiped out. That's all you have. Jang E gripped his sword and took a step forward. You also want to crush me by focusing fire? With this step, the boundless realm contracted. Within a 5-kilometer radius, the location of everyone was forcibly moved closer. Their carefully planned tactical spacing was disrupted. The locations of Kroba and Gushin suddenly became very close. Before the cosmic storm in the void could regroup, it was swept away by the aftershocks of the Netherworld. Nachoin's vision was momentarily clouded by the darkness. The Rashomon behind the main god Aminomi is still automatically repairing itself, but it turns out that the repaired gate no longer completely obeys the command of the Mon. This isn't. For the first time, fear crept into Nachoin's voice. His golden pupils nearly shrank to a single point. How can you master so many systems at the same time? Space, time, and even matter. How could you have grown so much in just 3 short years? What exactly did you go through? Humans cannot comprehend things beyond their comprehension, not even the powerful beings of these distant races. You think you're the only ones who've lived a long time? Jang E's long sword gently sliced through the universe. The darkness of the Netherworld clung to the sword's edge, like a flowing shadow. While you were hiding underground, I was surviving on the front lines. While you were figuring out how to stab me in the back, I was sniping against even stronger opponents on other planets. Jang E sneered, but swallowed his words. Laozi is the man chosen by the Sword Knight of the Aihen clan. He has been baptized by the spiritual ocean, so he is certainly not comparable to you lowly minions. Luck is an integral part of life, and Jang E's success is not solely due to luck. Chromatic bites. Forcibly suppressing the chill in his heart, he activated Instant Flash once again. This time, the attack will not be carried out alone. I refuse to believe I can't break through your turtle shell. Nothing is indestructible except speed. Your defenses must have a loophole, so come and help me. We are all strong in this world, so who would admit that they are inferior to others? All right, we're here to help you. Let's take down this arrogant bastard and seize the S warship. Gushin charged forward, following roughly the direction of the enemy. The Air Force is flanking and preparing to cover the storm. Chan stared intently at the details of Jang E's moves, ready to rewrite the dynamics of the two sides once again. The main god Aim no Manaka opened the Rashomon gate further back, linking the attacks of the group into a more complex killing formation. You are not alone. The voice of the god Aim no Manaka no Kami is hoarse. You are the culmination of the world's ancient catastrophes, the strongest among the modern humans. If we kill you, we will cause the entire world of the modern humans to collapse. Expressed his inner thoughts. We're not the only ones who want to kill you. Countless people want to wipe the people of the world out of the world and reduce the competition for you. It is common knowledge that humanity in this era will be blessed by the Creator. Even if the humans of the generation only went through 1,000,000 evolutions, their growth rate after the apocalypse was still astonishing. Jang E, in particular, even destroyed several ancient civilizations. This rate of growth frightens many people from distant, uncivilized backgrounds. Therefore, eliminating Jang E is the best choice that everyone agrees on. So, you guys value me that much? Jang E smiled. Should I be touched? The man spoke in a very soft voice, yet it sounded jarring to the 5 people. The second round of confrontation begins. Kroba instantly flashes close. Under the interference of the formless realm, this time it learned its lesson and did not directly pounce on Jang E's body. Instead, it teleported a little further away, trying to tear open the edge of the formless realm first, and then look for an opportunity to break in. He clasped his hands together. Numerous spatial fragments condensed in S hand into a semi-transparent longsword. Complex spatial cracks shimmered on the blade. It was a weapon made up of countless disassembled distance units that were reassembled. Shatter the void and sever the boundary. With a roar, he gripped his long sword tightly with both hands and slashed fiercely down into the cosmos. This strike was not a simple attack. It was a slash aimed at Jang E's formless realm body. As long as the draws a gap at a certain point, the boundless realm will be temporarily unbalanced, and the people's offensive will take the opportunity to pour in. At the same time, Gushin approached from the other side. The drive armor operated to its limit at this moment. Instead of using the Great Reincarnation Cannon, I chose a more primitive and violent move. He curled up into a ball. The armor was reassembled on the body to form a cone-shaped impact head. All internal dynamic sources are converted into propulsion output. The Great Cycle of Collision. If this impact were to hit a planet, it would be enough to deflect that planet off its orbit. Not to mention this is in the vacuum of space, with no resistance whatsoever, so the speed is much faster than on the surface of a planet. The cosmic storm in the void also reformed at this moment. This time, instead of unleashing a large-scale storm, the storm is being reduced to an extremely small area, like a drill bit that compresses to the extreme. The storm was aimed directly at Jang E's feet, attempting to disrupt the balance of the from its footing. In Nachawan's golden pupils, the wheel of time turned back a full circle. The cycle of heaven and earth begins anew. The force subtly weakened Jang E's power and speed at that moment. At the same time, the status of the 4 members of the group was raised a notch. At this point in time, the main god of the heavens activated the sealing. This time, the 9 Torii gates weren't used to seal off space. Instead, they crashed down from above, attempting to nail Jang E to the origin of the boundless realm. Chapter 2697 Showing Off One's Skill Before an Expert, Part 1. S attacks were perfectly coordinated, like a meticulously designed mechanical device. Guchuan adjusted every possible moment of the attack to its limit. Once a breakthrough is achieved at a certain point, it will amplify the advantage infinitely, like a chain reaction of explosions. They had been preparing for this battle for 2.5 years, and had conducted countless battle simulations. Jang E suddenly laughed. "You all worked very hard,"
he said softly.
But the Taishu bathrobe suddenly contracted at that moment. The Netherworld power that originally enveloped his entire body like a thin veil was compressed to its extreme, as if a thin veil had been laid over the White Emperor's battle armor. The starlight shone brightly, and he seemed to have merged into the universe, making him appear somewhat illusory. Because he was enveloped in the Taishu bathrobe, his body was in another dimension. "The harder you try, the more pathetic you seem." He smiled, a smile tinged with pity, but his eyes held a murderous intent. The realm of formlessness completed a flip at the same time. Originally, Jang E was at the center of the boundless realm, controlling all distances. At that moment, he moved the center position forward by 1 step. In the perception of Kroba and others, they should have entered the realm of no form from the outside. In reality, they have already been quietly placed inside, becoming part of the manipulated distance. The void-shattering and boundary slash descended. That slash did indeed cut to the edge of the boundless realm. But at this moment, the edge of the boundless realm was not around Jang E, but within Kroba himself. The scene before his eyes suddenly changed. That slash was originally meant to cut the tangent of Jang E's domain, but it instead cut into the spatial structure around itself. The spatial shield around him collapsed first, and the spatial buffer module of his battlesuit was rendered useless. At the same time, the great cycle of impact arrived as scheduled. Under the adjustment of the boundless realm, the trajectory of Gushin Yuan's collision with Jang E's chest was subtly deviated by a tiny bit. This slight deviation might not be significant over long distances. In a close-range, high-speed collision, even a millimeter can change the outcome. Gushin is like a controlled cannonball. He narrowly missed Jang E. The distance, slightly adjusted by the boundless realm, caused him to crash into another direction.
Kroba.
Both measures were insufficient. The moment Gushin's heavy armor came into contact with Kroba, the protective system automatically triggered a countershock. A large amount of shock wave exploded at the contact surface. Kroba had just had his spatial shield destroyed by his own attack, and this collision nearly turned him into a twisted mass of flesh. Kroba roared and forcefully pushed open the remaining defenses. but a series of bone-cracking pains still emanated from inside my chest cavity. "What are you doing?" His eyes were red. "Then you'll have to ask yourselves." Jang E raised his sword with a smile. "Who told you to play games with me about time and space? It's like showing off your limited skills before an expert." The miniature version of the cosmic storm drill from the other side of the sky has arrived. It pierced the void beneath Jang E's feet from below. Thought she could break his balance from the ground up, but found that she had not pierced the void, but rather a corner of the Netherworld coffin. The storm drill plunged headfirst into the edge of the projection of the Netherworld burial. That violent power, concentrated to its extreme, was sentenced to death on the spot by the rules of the Netherworld as soon as it began to tear apart. The storm's internal structure was disrupted, and all energy was reduced to random fragments in a very short time, swallowed by the dark abyss. He has actually reached this level. He can distort the entire surrounding space and manipulate matter at will. Kong's face turned pale instantly. He saw the true nature of the problem. Jang E's ability to teleport was not as simple as it seemed. He can teleport everything in space, whether it's himself, other matter, or even his attacks. Everything will be distorted.
Field.
Centered on Jang E himself, the area within a radius of 1 kilometer is the absolute domain that he can control. At this moment, the cycle of heaven and earth in Guchuan also encountered problems. He tried to weaken Jang E's state again, but found that the state coordinates within the boundless realm had been rearranged. Jang E's status tags have become blurred. He could see Jang E, but he could no longer use the heaven and earth rotation to lock onto Jang E and weaken his abilities. How is this possible? The one-eyed giant Guchuan's golden pupils shone with dazzling golden light, but upon closer inspection, the image seemed to become extremely blurry. It was right in front of me, yet I couldn't see it clearly, and I couldn't lock onto it with my abilities. "Can't you see it?" Jang E's gaze swept over him. "You think modifying attributes is something special? That just means you haven't encountered truly high-dimensional rules in a long time." No sooner had he finished speaking than the 9 torii gates of the heavenly god of the central realm crashed down from the gate. No matter how strong your power is, once it's sealed, you won't be able to use it. Suppress them. The main god of Heavenly Palace roared. The sealing power pressed down, intending to pin him completely to the spot. Jang E raised his left arm. The Netherworld patterns compressed to the key points on the Taishu bathrobe lit up briefly. Dark ripples spread out from his palm. At that moment, the sealed torii gate seemed to plunge violently into a huge coffin that had already existed. The seal wanted to suppress the enemy, but it could suppress the enemy's own body. Rules collide. After a brief stalemate, the sealed patterns began to crack one by one and were slowly devoured by the Netherworld burial. For the first time, the heavenly god of the central realm revealed genuine surprise. He watched as his signature sealing ability crumbled before the rules of the Netherworld, and the gentle mask on his face completely fell away. "Where did you learn this power from?" His voice was strained. "The Netherworld shouldn't exist in the body of an ability user of your level. The truth about this universe was mentioned in ancient Buddhist scriptures. The Creator created the universe, the moon and stars, matter and living beings. But the true universe is nothingness. It's as if the Creator painted a beautiful picture on a wooden board. But ordinary people can only see the picture, not the board itself. It is said that only a few exceptionally powerful beings can reach this realm. For example, the sin of greed in the Drucker god throne, Mammon. You know too much." Jang E gently shook his head. "It's a pity that knowing a lot doesn't mean you're very capable." From their initial arrogance, gradually stopped laughing, their expressions growing increasingly shocked and solemn. They had to admit that they had far underestimated Jang E's rate of evolution. 3 years is a short time for their race. They worked hard to improve their combat strength, and each of them increased by more than 1,000 points. Jang E, however, although his ability index did not change much, he mastered his own abilities. With an index of 58,000 points, his overall combat power reached 63,000 points. Chapter 2698 Showing off one's skill before an expert 2. Kroba's fangs were covered in black blood that had overflowed from internal bleeding. Despite trying to control himself, the injuries he sustained from Jang E's powerful shockwave were already quite severe. Just by trying to get close to Jang E and launch a close-range attack, he almost got killed by Jang E. This feeling of danger sent chills down my spine. Cough, 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 cough. The alarm inside the Gushin armor kept sounding, warning Gushin not to fight overload, otherwise the entire armor might break apart. None of them fared much better. Fine cracks appeared on their empty light wings. A shadow spread around the edge of Cha-N's golden pupils, and the golden light dimmed. These were traces of S vision being devoured by the Netherworld. Behind the main deity Aminomi, 3 of the gates of the Aremu Gate have turned a strange, eerie black and are no longer under the control of the Aremu Gate. They began to realize the problem. At first, I thought it was a 5-on-1 encirclement and hunt. Only now do we realize that the 5 of us have been dragged into a burial ground that someone had already prepared. We can no longer let control the rhythm. Nachoin said in a low voice. We must force them to take our ultimate form head-on. We can't waste time, concentrate all our power, and quickly break through their defenses. You make it sound so easy. Kong gritted his teeth and said fiercely. How many cards do you still have up your sleeve? We've already exhausted all our resources. Then, let's gamble one last time. Chan took a deep breath. The golden pupils closed and then opened again. This time, the light in the eyes of the was no longer a gear, but a whole giant light wheel. The inside of the light wheel contains countless tiny markings. Each scale mark represents a node on the timeline. The wheel of time turns in full swing. He uttered these words in a low voice. At that moment, the 5 people's status was forcibly maximized. They are pushed beyond their limits in terms of quantity, speed, and reaction. This ability is also something that Chawin can eat, pushing his own abilities to the limit and burning his own life. This kind of forced energy release over several years, or even several decades of lifespan, is just to give people a brief period of peak performance. Kroba felt every muscle in his body burning. The Gushin armor screeched as it was driven. The sky wings burst forth with blinding light, almost turning into 2 burning stars. Behind the main god Aim no Manaka, the doors of the Rokumen were lit one by one, except for the deepest door which remained dark. This is it. All in. Nachuan stared at Jang E. No matter what, we must tear apart the domain field. The 5 of them rushed forward at the same time. This time there were no fancy preambles. They combined all their ultimate skills and charged at Jang E in the simplest and most brutal way. The Kroba shattered wave was no longer a fine fragment, but instead directly opened a spatial rift. The crack was like a gaping, blood-red basin, devouring everything in its path. The impact of the great cycle of Gushin transformed into a long dragon of pure energy, driving the armor and the entire person to become one. The cosmic storm was compressed to almost a point, clearing a path ahead. After constantly adjusting the timeline, Chan kept and adjusting the timeline to keep all attacks in the most ideal, overlapping state. Aim no Manaka no Kami raised both hands and slowly pushed open the last ramen door. Behind that door was an eerie void. There was neither light nor darkness inside. It was as if even the concept of existence had been stripped away. This is... Jang E glanced at the door. How long have you been secretly reading StarClan data? The face of the heavenly god was contorted. Our Rat clan inherits not the Jaman culture. The voice trembled. There's also a little bit about how the star race tore through the remnants of the path to the outer universe. You really dare to use it. Jang E chuckled softly. Even the Star Clan themselves were played to death by this scheme. Enough with the nonsense. The heavens roared in fury. It's your honor to be under this kind of power. The 5-person combined attack is like a quagmire-shaped apocalypse. The spatial rift was swallowing everything that had passed. The great cycle of collisions tore a long, deep scar across the universe. The extreme compression of the cosmic storm created countless tearing ripples along the crack's edge. The timeline is stretched to an extremely tight state by the turning wheel of time. Behind the last door of Luo Men lies nothingness, like a true blank space, ready to swallow all the outcomes. At this moment, even the blue glow over the starry corridor fell silent for a moment. It was as if we were observing this localized, world-ending scene from afar. That's more like it. Seeing this attack, Jang E's gaze also became serious. Even if the 5 night-level powerhouses joined forces in a desperate attack, they wouldn't be confident they could withstand it unscathed. Well done. I'll end your lives with one strike. Jang E let out a loud roar, laughing as he gripped the Eternal Judgment sword tightly with both hands. All the dark patterns on the Taishu Yukata lit up at once. The Netherworld sword no longer simply rotates close to the body, but is drawn out along the sword's blade. The boundless realm shrinks to its extreme, forming an unprecedentedly compact battlefield with, as the point. You want to see my limit? His eyes were calm. Then keep your eyes wide open and watch carefully. The universe and all things return to nothingness, the eternal darkness that destroys everything, nothingness, the end, the destruction of everything. Appear, coffin of the eternal darkness. Deep in the universe, a truly dark coffin slowly opened. That's not a projection, but rather the actual coordinates of this area of the Netherworld being forcibly dragged out. There was no light inside the coffin. Even the rules seem extremely thin. All energy and matter, even time and space, that entered it were completely wiped out by that extreme darkness. When antimatter and matter come into contact, there is only one outcome: mutual annihilation, resulting in an extremely terrifying release of energy. This energy far surpasses atomic fission and fusion, and is the most powerful energy known in the world. If one can completely master this power, one will step into the realm of Omega and become an existence like Mammon. The combined attack of 5 people in the universe is terrifying enough, as if it could destroy a planetary belt. However, before that enormous, dark, and heavy coffin, the combined attack was silently swallowed up. The spatial rift collided with the edge of the coffin and was immediately swallowed by a deeper rift. The great cycle of reincarnation crashed into the surface of the coffin, creating ripples of darkness, yet it couldn't even create a single flaw. The cosmic storm spun around the coffin a few times, like water being drained, before finally turning into wisps of fine energy smoke. The wheel of time, the timeline, and the rules of the underworld are broken into sections, like a line that has been cut to pieces. Behind the last door of Luomen, an invisible tentacles reached out from the void, attempting to probe into the Netherworld, but were immediately bitten back, causing the entire door to dim and lose its light.
That's it for today's chapter. Tell me in the comments which part you enjoyed the most. If you love manga style stories, don't forget to like the video and subscribe the Buzz Play Manga. See you in the next chapter with more surprises. Thank you.